Hello everyone, Michael Breddy here from Breddy Musical Instruments. Today is day number 2 of this special Ocarina batch unveiling marathon as part of the lead up to my major exhibition at the Boston Early Music Festival being held at the Collonade Hotel in Boston next week, from next Wednesday to next Saturday. So if you've seen my prior videos, part of this effort is to show off a whole bunch of the new ocarinas and unveil them leading up to the event. At the event, I'm going to have a total of 19 ocarinas across a whole bunch of different woods, all different sizes and keys, consisting of 8 batches worth of ocarinas. So for this week, I'm covering 5 batches back to back as part of this marathon to show off some of the new ocarinas that I haven't revealed yet, specifically for that exhibition. So for this video, I'm going to be going over batch number 8 of high-end wooden inline ocarinas. This batch consists of 2 ocarinas. These are serial numbers 5 and 6. Over the course of this video, like prior videos, I'm going to dive into the background of these and development of these ocarinas, the history of the ocarinas, give some close-ups and an overview of the woods selected, some sound samples of each, and a full playing video at the end. So diving right in, like the prior batch, which had some early ocarinas number 3 and 4, some of my earliest officially stamped ocarinas. This batch is also a bit special because it has some of my earliest ocarinas in a new key. So these are actually my first officially stamped G4 size alto ocarinas. I've released other ocarinas of this size prior. These ones were held back a bit because I had done, like the prior batch, I had done a bunch of rework on them to get them where I wanted. But now I'm in the position to finally officially unveil them. So again, these are really special, unique ocarinas, not only from the beautiful woods and voicing of each, but also historically for this effort, being very early batch ocarinas with the early serial numbers. They do have a bit of extra meaning for the history of this development. So jumping right in, we're going to start out with number 5. So in one of my earlier ocarina unveilings, I believe it was for batch number 3 for a couple of tenor E4 ocarinas. I had mentioned that the woods for that build, which consisted of the fiddleback, claro, walnut for the body, I had a block that was originally set aside for my personal reserves that was going to be used for a couple of bass shun, but I ended up switching gear and using that wood for 4 different ocarinas. So the first 2 ocarinas that I developed with that wood were those E4 tenors that were already released and sold several months ago. And in that video, I had mentioned that I had made 2 other ocarinas with the remaining pieces of wood. So these 2 ocarinas are in fact part of that wood selection that was, again, part of my personal reserves. So really beautiful piece of fiddleback claro walnut that I had been saving for quite a while, that I decided to use for the ocarinas. So looking at kind of the first wood selection, you can see here just the absolutely beautiful grain of the fiddleback claro walnut. I've really come to enjoy working with claro walnut and paradox walnut. A couple of different species. Typically, a lot of times you see black walnut being used, and there's a lot of black walnut ocarinas out there. But I really love claro walnut, paradox walnut, and even English walnut variants in the walnut family because they have such incredible figuring and color to them that's a bit different from the typical black walnut that you see. So this has, again, really beautiful iridescence, really rich brown color in that walnut, some nice veining running vertically through the grain. This is further accented by the really beautiful laminated strip of curly maple running all around the body. So again, like many of the woods that I use for the ocarinas, they might not exactly be this exact thickness that I need to make it, so I have to laminate up to bring it to thickness for a specific tuning key that I'm building it for. I thought that the curly maple really paired really nicely with the fiddleback walnut. Both of those woods are actually part of my personal reserves. The maple was some leftover stock I had from a custom build, and I've mentioned this build a couple of times, custom Suguru shamisen build that used some really exquisite curly maple as accents for the laminations for that build. So I had some of that set aside, and I thought it would go perfectly with these ocarinas. So again, a look at the curl in the body and the curl of the bands, the iridescence, just in the way that the light moves in that grain is just really, really beautiful. Finally, I have for the top a piece of curly narra, which has a really beautiful orangish brown color to it, some really nice iridescence as well. This wood is also a wood that I had saved and set aside for quite a while. I had bought this wood years ago as part of a tone wood set for a full narra ukulele. I never ended up building that. I never ended up getting into building ukuleles or anything, but I had that wood, and it ended up being really a nice size for making the top wood, the fingerhole board for the ocarina. It's a little bit thinner. Typically, I use 1/4 inch stock for the top wood. This one is about 0.2 inches, so not really that big of a difference functionally or aesthetically, just a little bit thinner on that. But that is also a wood that I've had set aside for quite a while, and I think overall it pairs really beautifully with the color theme of this whole ocarina. So you got the nice rich chocolate brown of the walnut. You got the beautiful curly cream color of the maple, and this just really nice orange amber type color of the figured narra. So this kind of whole earthy palette really ties together quite nicely with this ocarina. Finally, for the mouthpiece, there is the standard aromatic cedar mouthpiece. So this one has a little bit of curl in the side, which is kind of nice. You don't typically see curl in aromatic cedar, but every once in a while it'll come up in the grain. So it's kind of nice that there's a little bit of that curl in this mouthpiece to complement the curl in the figure of the woods that are used for the body. Now, one thing I want to mention physically about this ocarina, this was a very early ocarina, and in the process of drilling the holes and kind of figuring out the processes for this, it was a learning curve. And for one of the holes, the right thumb hole, when I was drilling that out, I didn't quite have the fixturing and clamping down well enough, and it ended up slipping and kind of shaking around during the drilling, and created a non-uniform, kind of non-circular hole. The hole is mostly circular. It's really not that big of a deal, but it is. I do want to mention that it is not a perfectly circular hole. It's a little bit oblong in one direction. Again, it was a learning process. Since then, I fixed my my fixturing and how I go about drilling, especially these larger holes in some of the harder woods. And I haven't had a single issue since, not one slippage or anything with drilling out the holes. So that was kind of just a learning curve that ended up benefiting future ocarinas after this. So just so you're aware, again, just a little bit of a non-circular hole there, but functionally it's not a big deal. It doesn't affect anything. And even aesthetically, if you're looking at it, it's not really, it's a little bit noticeable, but it's not like a huge deal, I don't believe, for the entirety of the instrument as a whole. So now to give kind of a sound sample of the ocarina playing across the range. So you heard a little bit of it during the intro theme. So I'll just play up and down the complete scale so you can hear the full range of this ocarina. So this is the scale of number 5. So really clean, really clear tone. Both of these ocarinas are really smooth playing ocarinas. I think they're some of the smoothest G4s that I've made to date. Even though they are earlier batch ocarinas, I did spend more time on them, which is why they haven't been released earlier. And voicing wise, I think they came together really, really nicely. Really clean, clear dynamics and tone. Strong tone at the bottom. Really nice, sweet, clear tone at the top. Not a hint of airiness. Plays really smoothly, really nicely. It's really a joy to play, and it's been one of my model G4s that I've been using kind of as a model for other ocarinas of this size. For voicing and tuning. So a really fantastic ocarina, both aesthetically and playing wise tonally. This ocarina ended up also being really nice to voice. For whatever reason, and I've mentioned this in prior videos, some ocarinas have given me a lot of trouble, taken me months, like the prior batch with 3 and 4. Those took me more than a half a year to get voiced. Whereas this one actually ended up voicing exactly right the first time. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens quite rarely. But this one just came together just super smoothly. It didn't give me any issues whatsoever. So this one was actually one of the rare joys in the voicing process, where it just came together just absolutely perfectly, without any need of major rework. Besides a little slip on the thumb hole, everything else came out really fantastic in the voicing process. So now moving on to number 6. So this has a lot of similar woods, but also a different wood for the top wood. So kind of going over the selection for this, we have again the beautiful fiddleback claro walnut, just really gorgeous color, striping, and iridescence in the curl and the figure of the grain. Just a really beautiful wood. And if you like walnut in particular, these ocarinas will be a really nice addition to your collection, just with the extra figure in them. Just gives it a really next level aesthetic compared to just more plain basic walnut. For this ocarina, there's also the curly maple banding that goes all the way around. Again, complements the dark chocolate brown of the walnut really nicely, as well as the figure in that. For the top wood, I ended up going with something a little bit different. I went with a nice piece of Bolivian rosewood. And actually, the custom Heinz tenor sweet potato that I got many years ago has a laminated strip of Bolivian rosewood in the center of Padauk and maple. So it's kind of nice to tie into that wood for this build for the top. So it's not figured like the curly narra, but it does have a really nice clean grain, a nice rich brown that kind of complements the nice brown of the walnut, and then you have the aromatic cedar mouthpiece here for the mouthpiece. Like number 5, number 6 came together in the voicing process really nicely. I did end up reworking the top. Originally, the top was actually a piece of paduk, which I wasn't quite happy with the initial voicing. So I redid the top in a piece of Bolivian rosewood, and it ended up voicing out super nicely with that second piece. And it came together really, really easily and really fantastically. So kind of another lower effort ocarina that just kind of spoke effortlessly through the voicing process. So to give a example of the scale of this ocarina going up and down, here is a sample of the tone of number 6. So like number 5, this thing plays so incredibly smoothly. It has such a sweet, rich tone. I would say that the character of these ocarinas, they're both absolutely beautiful, but they do have their own nice personalities to them. Number 5, I would say, has a little bit more back pressure. It has a little bit more texture and kind of focus in the tone, whereas number 6 has a more open tone. There's less back pressure, and it has a really warm, mellow, rich tone to it. So both are absolutely phenomenal. Both play insanely smoothly, but one has a little bit higher back pressure and a little bit extra crispness to the tone. One has a little bit lower back pressure and a little bit more mellowness and warmth to the tone. But both overall absolutely fantastic instruments to play, and I really love playing both of these. One thing I do want to mention, that while the voicing process for this went super smoothly, the finishing process was actually not as smooth. I found out the hard way, actually, that I do have an allergy to Bolivian rosewood dust. During the process, I ended up developing kind of a reaction to the dust, and that was definitely not fun. I was on a lot of allergy medication for a couple of weeks. Just really bad rashes and itching everywhere. It was just terrible to deal with. And I have had reactions to other woods in the past. Camatillo, which is another oily Mexican rosewood, that gave me a really nasty reaction. And I suspect that the similarities in the oil between the Bolivian rosewood and the Camatillo and the kind of that oily rosewood family doesn't play nicely with my system. So I will say that this is probably the first and last time that I'm going to be using Bolivian rosewood for an ocarina. There's just a few woods that I'm going to stay away from, just from the allergy perspective. Another big one is cocobolo. It's an absolutely insanely beautiful wood, but it's a really well-known and famous sensitizer. People can get some really nasty reactions from it. And based on my experience with Bolivian rosewood and Camatillo, I'm 99% sure that cocobolo is going to give me a really nasty reaction. So I'm going to stay away from that wood as well. But it was a nice opportunity to at least get a chance to work with the Bolivian rosewood. It works absolutely beautifully. It carves beautifully. It mills. It drills beautifully. Really fantastic carving wood. Another issue that I ran into was during the finishing process. I use a hand-wiped hardening oil varnish for the body. The mouthpieces are all shellac, so 100% food safe, but the bodies have a little bit more durable finish from the varnish. And for whatever reason, and I experienced this with the Kamatillo too, the oils in the wood actually prevents the varnish that I use from fully curing. So I had to wipe this down a ton with lots and lots of acetone to try to remove as much of the oil as possible. As soon as I finished the final sanding, I'd apply a coat of the finish. I'd let it dry much longer and applied it much thinner than typical. And in the parts that didn't quite cure, I would strip off with acetone again. I would put more acetone on and I would refinish it over again and keep repeating the process until I built up somewhat of a finish across the instrument that was acceptable. So the finish on this is not as thick or necessarily as uniform as my other instruments. The other ones go on super easily without any issue, but just for the more oily Bolivian rosewood, it is much more of a challenge to get finished. That's also something to be aware of. You can see again, the finish on it is still really beautiful. It has a nice glossy finish, but it's not quite up to the level of the other instruments that I've made. So that's just kind of another factor with this ocarina that I just want to address. Still, again, really, really good finish, really beautiful wood, but just a bit of a quirk in working with this wood in general. I would say that typically handling these types of woods shouldn't present an issue. Really, the allergen issue is only if you are working with the wood dust directly or if you're sticking the actual wood in your mouth. So if I had the mouthpiece made from Bolivian rosewood, that might be a minor cause for concern. However, since the mouthpiece is cedar, you don't actually directly interact with the Bolivian rosewood at all with your mouth, so there shouldn't be any allergy type issues. And it again is sealed under the varnish, so it shouldn't be an issue. Even with my hind with the Bolivian rosewood in the mouthpiece, Hind did seal his ocarinas with a layer of varnish. And I have not had an issue at all with that, even directly in the mouthpiece. So again, for me, the reaction was really just dust-based. So that shouldn't be an issue for buyers, just in case people are a little bit hesitant about my tales and woes of allergies from the woods. Again, it's mainly from the wood dust and working with this stuff. So that kind of wraps up the overview for these two ocarinas. Now to put things in a more musical context, I'm going to perform a short song on one of these ocarinas. And for this performance, I decided to do the Legend of Zelda title theme. Again, kind of continuing off the Legend of Zelda theme from the prior video. I know, again, Ocarina of Time stuff is overplayed a lot in the Ocarina. It's kind of cliche, but I don't have a lot of time to learn new songs, and it still gives kind of a nice idea of what the sound's tone is like in a song. So please enjoy this rendition of the Legend of Zelda title theme. So this wraps up video number 2 of this week's batch unveiling marathon. This again is for batch number 8 of high-end wooden inline ocarinas. This batch consists of 2 ocarinas, 2 of my earliest ocarinas. This is ocarina serial numbers 5 and 6. Beautiful selection of woods. We got fiddleback, claro, walnut, curly maple, curly narra, Bolivian rosewood, and aromatic cedar. Both of these ocarinas are fantastically smooth playing ocarinas, really sweet, pure, rich tone across the range. Just really fantastic ocarinas to play, and some of my smoothest playing G4s I've made to date. So like I mentioned in prior videos, these ocarinas will be available at the exhibition. It'll be first come, first serve with priority given to the attendees of the exhibition. However, if you cannot attend the exhibition and are still interested in either of these ocarinas, send me a personal message with the serial number that you are interested in, and I will put you on the reserve list for that ocarina. So if the ocarina happens to not sell during the event, I'll reach out to you and we can go from there. So part of me does want to keep at least one of these ocarinas for myself. Like the prior batch, which I mentioned, I was strongly considering keeping maybe number 4 just for historical purposes and sentimental value. I may or may not keep one of these. I'm still not sure yet. One part of me wants to keep it for my own collection because they're really fantastic ocarinas and they do have some history with this development. However, another part of me also wants to get really exceptional wooden ocarinas like these out in the hands of capable and experienced players and collectors themselves. So I will keep people updated on what happens after the exhibition. If you are interested in following along with these efforts, you can see more developments at the Brady Musical Instruments Instagram and Facebook pages, as well as more videos to come this week on the Brady Musical Instruments YouTube channel. So I've still got 3 more batches to go. Still a bunch of really exciting woods, a lot of cool new stuff to see. And if you are in the area and you enjoy the ocarina or want to check these out in person, be sure to stop by the Collonade Hotel for the Boston Early Music Festival 2025 exhibition being held next week. And if not, feel free to send a message about these or any of the other ocarinas that you might see during this unveiling marathon this week. So I want to thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.